Calling to order the Monday, May 21st, 2012 regular meeting of the 34th Council of the City of Berkley. Ms. Prince, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Baker?
Here.
Councilmember Blanchard?
Here.
Councilmember Cadeco?
Here.
Councilmember Platt-Onson?
Here.
Councilmember Stedman?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Turbrack?
Here.
And Mayor O'Dwyer.
Here. The first order of business is the approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Mayor Pro Tem Turbrack with support from Councilmember Cadeco. Are there any changes, additions? Seeing none, Ms. Prince, would you please call the roll?
Blanchard?
Yes.
Cadeco?
Yes.
Platt-Onson?
Yes.
Stedman?
Yes.
Turbrack?
Yes.
Baker?
Yes.
O'Dwyer.
Yes. And now would you please stand for the invocation? Deacon Brian Carroll is with us.
O good and gracious God, we give you thanks for all the gifts you give us. We thank you for the gift you give us of sharing in the governing of this fine city of Berkley. We ask you in this meeting to have us be attentive to your spirit that lives within us and between us, so that what we discuss and what we decide may be for the common good. And we ask this in your great name. Amen.
Amen. Now please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now we come to the citizens' comments portion of tonight's agenda, when you may present your thoughts on issues that are not included on tonight's agenda. Council members will not engage you in discussion. If your concern needs to be addressed by a member of city staff or a department of the city, please sign your name on the sheet provided at the clerk's table. You may speak on a specific agenda item when it is being considered. When you come to the microphone, please state your name and city of residence. Seeing none, then the next item is the consent agenda. Ms. Prince, would you please read tonight's consent agenda?
Yes. Item number 1, approval of the minutes. Matter of approving the minutes of the regular meeting of the 34th City Council on Monday, May 7th, 2012. Item number 2, warrant. Matter of approving the warrant number 1254. Item number 3, proclamation number 0312. Matter of approving a proclamation of the Council of the City of Berkley, Michigan, recognizing May 2012 as Mental Health Month.
Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Councilmember Stedman. Support. Support by Councilmember Blanchard. Ms. Prince, would you please call the roll?
Cadeco?
Yes.
Platt-Onson?
Yes.
Stedman?
Yes.
Turbrack?
Yes.
Baker?
Yes.
Blanchard?
Yes.
O'Dwyer.
Yes. Now we come to the regular agenda. Ms. Prince, would you please read item number 1 on tonight's regular agenda?
Recognitions and presentations. Matter of any recognition or presentations from the consent agenda.
Thank you. I have asked Councilmember Baker to read the proclamation tonight, 312, and it is in connection with Mental Health Month. And we have in the audience here a representative of Oakland County Community Mental Health Authority. And just by way of making our community aware, this is an enormously important authority in our county, and a number of service providers from this general area are participants in the Oakland County Mental Health Authority. Common Ground, Community Housing Network, Community Living Services, Community Network Services, Easter Seals, Oakland Family Services. There's a wide range of organizations that are part of this that do enormously important work in our community. And so it is our pleasure to have Councilmember Baker read this proclamation.
Thank you, Your Honor. It is indeed a pleasure. A proclamation of the Council of the City of Berkley, Michigan, designating May 2012 as Mental Health Month. Whereas, mental health is critical for our individual well-being and vitality, as well as that of our families, communities, and businesses. And whereas 1 in 4 of all Americans experience a mental health illness that requires treatment at some point in their lives. And whereas 1 in 10 children has a serious mental illness that, if untreated, can lead to school failure, physical illness, substance abuse, jail, and even suicide. And whereas May 9th has been designated as National Children's Mental Health Awareness Day, and whereas the stigma and stereotypes associated with mental illnesses often keep those living with such an illness from seeking the treatment that could improve their quality of life and help them manage the illness effectively. And whereas mental illness is a biological-based brain disorder that cannot be overcome through willpower and is not related to a defect in a person's character or intelligence. And whereas the National Institute of Mental Health reports that mental disorders are the leading cause of disability in the United States and Canada for ages 15 to 44. And whereas mental health recovery is a journey of healing and transformation, enabling a person with mental illness to live a meaningful life in a community of his or her choice while striving to achieve his or her full potential. And whereas mental health recovery not only benefits individuals with mental health disabilities by focusing on their abilities to live, work, learn, and fully participate in our society, but also enriches the texture of our community life. And whereas the Oakland County Community Mental Health Authority has established and is committed to empowering the individuals we serve to live full, self-determined lives, embracing recovery, resilience, responsibility, and independence. Now, therefore, be the City of Berkley proclaims May 2012 as Mental Health Month. The City of Berkley calls upon our citizens, government agencies, public and private institutions, businesses, and schools to recommit our state to increasing awareness and understanding of mental illness and the need for appropriate and accessible services for all people with mental illnesses to promote recovery. Proclaimed this 21st day of May 2012 at a regular meeting of the Berkley City Council. Phil O'Dwyer, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Baker.
Thank you.
And we have the representative here, Vicky Sutter from Oakland County Mental Health Authority, if you would like to say a few words.
Sure. Oakland County Community Mental Health Authority is a public agency, a government agency that's responsible for the public mental health services here in Oakland County, including for the citizens of Berkley. Not only do we provide services, but we want to be sure that our community is aware of and understands the issues around mental illness and around issues with people with disabilities. So I really do appreciate the City of Berkley proclaiming May as Mental Health Month, because that gives us an opportunity to be sure that your community understands the important issues related to mental illness, and you're helping us educate our community, and we so much appreciate that. In the last month, we've seen the seriousness of mental illness in our news, as Junior Seau, who was a prominent football player, died by suicide. And that created an opportunity for a number of folks to come out and talk about depression and about mental illness. One in our local paper was a Michigan State University football player, an ex-football player, and also a local sports writer talked about his lifelong struggle with depression and what that feels like and what that's the struggles that he's had with that, but also the accomplishments that he's had in his life, and the importance of people to recognize depression and mental illness really as an illness, just like you would other things like diabetes and cancer and heart disease. It's an illness, it requires treatment, and with treatment people have the opportunity to recover. So it's my profound thanks for you to claim May as Mental Health Month. Thanks for joining our partnership.
Thank you for being here, and thank you for all you do. I think one of the critical lines in what Councilmember Baker read was that mental illness is a biologically based disorder, and sometimes people forget its biological basis.
Yes.
And that's what drives much of the difficulty we have in getting people in the direction of help.
Yes, true. Thank
Thank
you.
you very much. Now, Ms. Prince, would you please read item number 2 on tonight's agenda?
Motion number M 2712, matter of approving the Berkley Junior Women's Club event, Robina Raspidi and Robina, from 12 Mile to the alley north of 12 Mile Road on Thursday, June 21st, July 19th, and August 23rd, 2012, from 6 o'clock p.m. to 9 o'clock p.m.
Is there a motion to approve M 2712?
Motion to approve?
Motion to approve by Councilmember Platt Onson,
Support.
support by Councilmember Baker. Ms. DeSessa.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and City Council. I really don't have a lot of more details to provide for you. I think the city clerk gave a very good summary. The only thing I'd like to add is simply that it has been reviewed by our staff, and we are recommending it. I know the signatures aren't on the form, but I have spoken with them. This is something that has been done on an annual basis, and they've done a very good job. I know Public Safety is aware of this, and so has Public Works. We do recommend this for your consideration. Thank you.
And this is being run again by the Berkley Junior Women's Club.
Yes, Your Honor.
Very good.
They've done an excellent job.
They have in the past and in so many areas. Any other discussion? Hearing none, then, Ms. Prince, would you please call the roll on M 2712?
Platt Onson,
Yes.
Stedman,
Yes.
Turbrack,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Blanchard,
Yes.
Kadeco,
Yes.
O'Dwyer.
Yes. Ms. Prince, would you please read item number 3 on tonight's agenda?
Motion number M 2812, matter of approving the Berkley Dance Club Opening Day Parade on June 2nd, 2012, beginning at 10:15 a.m.
Is there a motion to approve M 2812?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Mayor Pro Tem Turbrack,
Support.
support by Councilmember Kadeco. Ms. DeSessa.
Council, the only thing I'd like to add is that beside the date and time, it's going to start, as it usually does, at the high school courtyard. It'll go west on Catalpa to Robina. It'll go through the community center parking lot, and it'll end at the community field number 1. Again, this is something that they've done on an annual basis, and I know Public Safety is familiar with this as well, and we are prepared to recommend this for your consideration, Your Honor.
Very good. Any additional discussion? Seeing none, Ms. Prince, would you please call the roll on M 2812?
Stedman,
Yes.
Turbrack,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Blanchard,
Yes.
Kadeco,
Yes.
Platt Onson,
Yes.
O'Dwyer.
Yes. Ms. Prince, would you please read item number 4 on tonight's agenda?
Motion number M 2912, matter of appointing Julie Goldsworthy to the Library Board with a term expiring July 2014.
Is there a motion to approve M 2912?
Motion to approve M 2912.
Motion to approve by Councilmember Stedman,
Support?
support by Councilmember Platt Onson. Ms. DeSessa.
Council, what I'd like to do is just simply go over her application very briefly with you. I won't go into some of the personal details, but just an overview. I know that she is here with us this evening, so if she'd like, oh, she's not here. I thought maybe you might be. I'm sorry. This individual, I'll just give you a brief detail. She is a paralegal, and she is a United States citizen, and she has been a resident of the city of Berkeley for over 14 years. When she writes what her interests and qualifications for this appointment, she states, I believe in the importance of libraries and their function to city residents. Libraries and books were important to me growing up, and even though times have changed to the electronic age, the need for libraries and its resources have not diminished. Things may come in different packages, but the public reliance on libraries remains. I like to read too, she says. Any other information she feels would be pertinent. Again, she states that she has been fairly active member of the Friends of the Berkeley Public Library for the last few years, and that she is currently an officer for this group. I do believe that she has also received the support from the Public Library Board as well, Your Honor, and a copy of the letters attached for your information. I thought she was here with us this evening, forgive me, but we are recommending her for your consideration, Your Honor.
Thank you very much. I think she makes a very important point that books is only one of the functions of a library today. And our library provides a broad range of services, actually including computer availability to our residents. Any additional discussion? Very good. Ms. Prince, would you please call the roll on M 2912?
Turbrack,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Blanchard,
Yes.
Kadeco,
Yes.
Platt Onson,
Yes.
Stedman,
Yes.
O'Dwyer.
Yes. Now, Ms. Prince, would you please read item number 5 on tonight's agenda?
Motion number M3012, matter of authorizing the city manager to enter into a marketing agreement with Utility Service Partners Private Label, Inc., doing business as Service Line Warranties of America for the provision of the National League of Cities Service Line Warranty Program.
Is there a motion to approve M3012?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Councilmember Stedman.
Support.
Support by Councilmember Blanchard. Mr. Sessa.
Council, when it comes to this item, I know that I've sent you this information, and you probably received some information from the National League of Cities yourself directly. They sent out a pamphlet. And when I first received it, I know this was something that perhaps would have been of interest, but I know that Councilmember Eileen Stedman approached me specifically and said, Jane, I really want you to look at this. You know, please bring a representative from the organization, and if at all possible, allow me to at least sit in and listen to his presentation. Now, he is here with us this evening, Your Honor, Mr. Mike Chambers. He is a representative, and I won't go into a lot of detail about the program, but he'll provide that information for you. But I know that Councilmember Stedman would also like to say a few words. So with that, I'll ask, if you don't mind, Your Honor, allow Councilmember Stedman to say a few words, and then Mr. Chambers.
Well, I thought this would be something that is very low cost and would be a really great thing to offer our residents who live in fear continually of a sewer line break or a water line break. And they're very costly to repair. And I felt that this company, when I talked to them at the legislative conference, was really reasonable and covers a great deal. And I thought it would be very important to offer this to our city, or to the residents of our city.
Well, I just want to thank the council for allowing me to come here tonight. Just to give you a brief overview of the program, basically, the way our program works, it's a full turnkey program for the city. We handle all the marketing, the billing, the customer service, and the claims. There's no cost for the city to participate in the program, and we'll actually share 10% of the revenue from the program. We'll give that back to the city for your participation. Now, a couple of the benefits of the program, pretty much everywhere we go, we hear the same story. Whenever the resident has a break, they'll end up calling into the city. The city will send someone out only to find out that the break's on the resident's side. There's really nothing you can do to help them. A lot of times the residents can become upset because most of them don't even realize that this is something they're responsible for. The lines are buried under the ground. It's just not something you think about until they're sitting there with that, $3,000 or $4,000 bill that they have to pay. So our program gives them options that they don't have today. For typically between $4 and $6 a month, they can enroll in the program. And if they have a break in their line or a clogged sewer line or anything like that, all they do is make one call to our 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week service center, and then we'll dispatch a local licensed plumber to make the repair. Now, that's another benefit of the program, too, is that we only use contractors from the cities that are participating. So it would be a Berkley, contractor that gets all the work. A couple of reasons we do that. First off, just helps keep the dollars in the community. But more importantly, the local contractors here, they know what the local codes are. So they're going to make sure that line gets fixed the way the city wants it to be fixed. And then lastly, like I said, there's also the 10% revenue as well that comes back to the city. Basically, at the end of the year, what we'll do is we'll produce a report that shows us, all the enrollments and everything that was collected, and that'll get sent back to the city along with a check for 10%. A lot of our city partners will set up programs for maybe low-income families to have access to the funds in case they have a break, or other cities put it back into their public works system. But that's up to you guys for however you want to use it. As for the way we market the program, it's very simple. We don't do telemarketing. We don't do door-to-door sales or anything like that. Twice a year, we'll create a letter, and it'll say something along the lines of the National League of Cities and the City of Berkeley want to make you aware that this program is available. That's another nice aspect, is the residents don't have to enroll in the program. It's all optional. So if it makes sense for someone to enroll, they can. If they don't want to, they don't have to. It's not something that's forced upon them. Now, once they enroll, the most important thing is their customer satisfaction. We strive to make sure that every one of our customers are completely satisfied. And the way we do that is basically just by simply covering what we say we're going to cover. And that's one of the main reasons we come to the city first, is by doing that, we're able to actually design our product to fit exactly what's responsible for the residents here in the city. And by doing that, we're able to keep our claims denial rate extremely low. Less than 2% of every claim that's filed with our company is denied. And the majority of those claims are actually denied due to non-payment, where a resident won't pay for 4 or 5 months, and then they'll end up calling in to file a claim. But we still count that against as a denied claim. There are over 125 cities participating in the program across the country. There are a few here in Michigan. We just started offering it. Huntington Woods was one of our first cities that offered it here in the state, and the program's going extremely well there. From our first mail campaign, over 40% of the households there in Huntington Woods signed up for the program, and we've only been there for about 4 or 5 months. We've already paid maybe over $30,000 in claims there. So it's a problem that we see happening everywhere, especially with trees and things like that getting into the sewer lines, and we think that's why the residents take advantage of it.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Councilmember Blanchard.
Thank you, Your Honor. How is this billed to the residents? Is it billed through the city water sewer bill, or is it billed directly by you?
We'll directly bill them, and we give the residents several options for payment. They can pay by the month if they want to. They can pay quarterly, semi-annually. If they pay annually, they'll receive a 10% discount as well. But that's basically up to them. But we handle all the billing and everything for you.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Councilmember Baker.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor, and thank you for your presentation tonight and for offering this to us for consideration here. A quick question on the enrollment process. Is there an enrollment window, or is it an open enrollment?
They can enroll year-round. Whenever we do the mailing, that's when we'll send it out, and they can just tear it off and mail back in. But they can also call in. There's a 1-800 number that always answers if they have questions and they want to ask, or they can go online and they can enroll, year-round. So.
Great. So that way, if a new resident were to join our community, they could sign up rather than waiting 4 months till the next window. And thank you. And if someone were to decide to end the contract, is there a notification period? How does that work if someone were to?
Well, it works actually for the residents on a month-to-month, so there's no contract for them to sign either. So at any point they want to, opt out of the program, all they do is let us know. If they paid anything in advance, they'll get refunded everything that they haven't used. So.
Great. Thank you.
Very good. Councilmember Platt-Onson.
2 things. Could you talk a little bit about what is covered? So what types of incidents, and then is there any cost to the city, and how does that work?
Okay, second part, there is no cost to the city. It's completely free to enroll. As for what's covered for the residents, basically all the portion of the line that the resident's responsible for. So in the case of, say, a sewer line warranty, typically that runs all the way from the main back to the point of entry of their house. If for any reason their line gets clogged or gets broke or anything like that, they'll have coverage to repair it. Also, we give you, there's an extra $4,000 in case it has to be dug up in the street, so we'll pay to actually put the street back as well. The only things that aren't covered is, say, someone's out in their yard putting in a swimming pool or something and they, dig up the line or break it. So third-party negligence or something like that. But other than that, everything else is covered for them as long as it's the portion of the line that they're responsible for.
Thank you.
Councilmember Cadeckel.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Chambers, for coming out here tonight. I have a couple questions. Number one, in the enrollment, let's say they do pay annually, do they get a discount then if they pay on a month-to-month basis?
No, the month-to-month would be the regular price. Typically, for a sewer line warranty, runs about $6 a month. So if they do pay the yearly rate, they'll get 10% off of that, so 60 cents off a month. So.
Thank you. And also, does the city of Berkley, is it a prerequisite that we're a member of the National League of Cities?
You don't have to be a member to participate in this program. Mm-hmm.
If I may, Mr. Mayor, I just want to say that I think it's a great program, and it's just another thing that the National League of Cities does to help out the residents and cities. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you.
Very good. Any additional questions? Councilmember Stedman.
Now, when you say for a clog, let's say it doesn't need any major repair, will you just come out to snake it out?
Yeah, typically what we have our contractors do is they'll camera the line. If they see it's just roots in there, then they'll just go ahead and clean it. When they do that, if they find there's more damage, they'll try to at least do a section replacement. While they're doing the section replacement, if they see the line's going to be broken, we have a team of contractor managers that handle each account, and they can actually call in and say, hey, this line looks like it's going to break further down the line. So a lot of times we'll just have them do it all while we're there. Saves us the hassle of coming back out and redoing it. So, but it's kind of those two guys, our contractor here locally will work hand in hand with our contractor management team to best fix the problem.
So how many times a year can they call on you?
Well, unlike a lot of the other companies, there's no annual cap or anything. So they can actually, as long as they're paying their monthly payment, they have full access to their warranty. So there's no cap.
And is there a waiting period for?
Typically, what we do is when the resident has a claim and they'll call in, we'll dispatch that job immediately to the local contractor, and then we ask that the contractor calls the residents within 1 hour to set up an appointment to be on site to start the repairs.
But once they join, do they have
Oh.
like a 30-day waiting period
That's
before it covers?
the only difference between, you were asking about the enrollments earlier.
Yeah.
Whenever we're doing the mailing letters, they have immediate coverage. If they are just signing up on the phone or, online, then there is a 30-day waiting period. And that's just to keep someone that's, lines broken from calling in.
Yeah. Right.
Thank you. Well, thank you, Mr. Chambers, for being here, and thank you, Councilmember Stedman, for bringing this item to our attention. I think this is something that our residents would find valuable. Our housing stock is getting as old as some of us, and and so those kinds of issues tend to arise in communities that have an older housing stock. So we thank you for being here.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Ms. Prince, please call the roll on M3012.
Baker?
Yes.
Blanchard?
Yes.
Deco?
Yes.
Lyon Onson?
Yes.
Evans?
Yes.
Trubrate?
Yes.
O'Dwyer?
Yes. And now, Ms. Prince, please read item number 6 on the agenda tonight.
Public hearing, matter of holding a public hearing for the purpose of considering the proposed 2012-2013 annual operating budget and supporting tax rates for the city of Berkley, Michigan.
Thank you. I would like to declare the public hearing open. Mr. Sessa, do you have anything to begin this discussion with?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. So the public hearing is open on the budget. Seeing no major rush to the microphone, then we will end the public hearing. Ms. Prince, would you please call item number 7 on tonight's agenda?
Resolution number R2112, matter of approving a resolution of the Council of the City of Berkley, Michigan, adapting the city operating budget for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2012 and ending June 30th, 2013.
Is there a motion to approve R2112?
Move to approve.
Move to approve
Support.
by Councilmember Kadekel with support from Mayor Pro Tem Terbrack. Mr. Sessa.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would just like to very briefly give a quick review as regards to the process that we follow and why we're here this evening. And then I'll turn it over to our finance director, who will give us a little bit more information on exactly what the budget is doing for this coming year. We are presenting this budget in accordance with the Michigan Uniform Act, which is known as Public Act 2 of 1968 as amended, and also done in accordance with Chapter 9 of the City of Berkley City Charter. And that section is entitled the General Finance Budget Procedure. The proposed comprehensive budget for fiscal year 2012-2013 begins July 1st, 2012, and ends June 30th, 2013. And as I stated earlier, this is all done in accordance with the Uniform Budget Act. Each fund within the proposed budget is balanced in accordance to our estimated revenues and expenditures and available fund balances. The city's total proposed operating budget, and when I mean total, I mean everything and including all operating funds, all across all the various funds and so forth, for fiscal year 2012-2013 is proposed to be $20,502,008. When I compare this to our last fiscal year, which is about $20,513,756, the proposed budget reflects a very, very slight decrease. And again, this decrease is spread across all our funds. In my letter that I wrote to the City Council, I indicate that one of the primary factors impacting this reduction was the reduction in our property tax values. And in order to comply with state law, funds from each fund balance were applicable, were utilized in order to allow us to maintain our city services. Overall, the proposed annual budget continues to fund the city's core services per your direction. With that, I will turn it over to our finance director to give a little more detail. Thank you, Your Honor. Mr.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. DeSessa. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. As you know, we went through the budget back on May the 14th and May the 15th. We spent a considerable amount of time in budget work sessions at that time frame, going page by page through the operating budget. As you know, there are 25 operating funds, the largest being the general fund. And we're going to spread the 20 million in revenues and 20.5 million in expenses across those 25 funds. So as you can tell, we are spending a little bit more than what we are taking in. And where are those expenses? How's that being handled? Well, the general fund, that rainy day fund, the fund balance of the general fund, or the rainy day fund as it's commonly known, is picking up $200,000 of that additional expense. The major and local street funds, also their fund balance or rainy day accounts are paying for a portion of that $500,000. The sanitation fund is paying for part of that, $500,000, and also the water sewer fund slightly is paying for a part of the that $500,000 where expenses are exceeding revenues. Why did expenses exceed revenues? We are making 3 major purchases. There is a replacement of a tractor, 1975 tractor. There's a replacement of a water van, 1985 water van. Legacy costs have gone up, okay? Even with high deductible healthcare plans, the percent rate increases drove up 12.6%, both for the retiree coverages and for the active coverages. That drove costs up for us over the last fiscal year. Also, our code enforcement and our building permit process inspections are up, expenses are up, and with that, the costs incurred for those programs. So overall, we're going to spend about $500,000 more over the other funds, over the revenues, excuse me. So revenues will be about 20 million, and expenses will be 20.5 million, and they're spread amongst the funds and paid for out of the rainy day fund. The general fund is the largest, as Mrs. DeSessa has stated. We're going to take in about 8.9 million. We're going to spend 9.1 million. The second largest fund is the water sewer fund. We're going to spend about we're going to take in 5.5 million, and we're going to spend about 5.6 million. Those are the 2 biggest funds. They make up about 65 to 70% of that $20 million. Please note also that we do appropriate for the 732 fund, which is a trust fund, which is not required to be appropriated underneath state law. That is the public safety pension system, okay? And that we'll spend an additional $2 million, $2.5 million over the 20 million in that fund. So with that, that's a progressive situation where the council has been very proactive, especially back in 2010 and 2008 when we had major stock market issues with those investments. It's just nice and clean and to see those expenses being presented each and every year. I want to take a little bit of time to talk about property taxes. When you look at 11-12 property tax revenues to 12-13, we lost another $86,000 in property taxes that would have gone into the general fund. Incrementally from 8-9 through 12-13, we lost $700,000 in taxes that would have gone into the general fund. This is directly due to the falling property values here in the city. Okay, today there are very, very few homes now that have a taxable value or have an SEV, excuse me, greater than taxable value. So now market is driving values instead of CPI. And we have to, that trend has to change. Eventually, hopefully, housing prices will rebound. And with that, they'll grow quickly, and then we can start capturing our CPI again. But right now, we're not getting any or very, 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 very little CPI growth in property taxes. Again, 700,000 incrementally lost from 08-09. Now, at the peak in 08-09, we were getting 4.3 million in tax revenue. 4.3 million was coming into the general fund. If we were to get 4.3 million in 9-10, 10-11, 11-12, and then 12-13, if we were to get that, and we're not, but if we were to get that, that would have been an additional 1.8 million in taxes. Gone. We are now operating on 04, 05 tax levels. That's where we are now. We've come back to $3.6, $3.7 million in taxes in the general fund to fund city core services. Their second largest revenue stream is the state shared revenues. Those revenues are flat. At one point in time, we were getting $1.9 million in state shared revenues. We're now down to $1.2 million. And we have to compete to get the EVIP dollars, which is the Economic Vitality Improvement Program. So we are working at that, and we are achieving and receiving those dollars. It's about $150,000 a year. However, remember, the governor and the state legislature reduced that statutory by $100,000 to the city of Berkeley. So instead of getting $250,000, we're only getting $150,000 now. So again, state share revenues are second largest revenue stream, flat, $1.2 million. So how did we balance this budget? What we did is the key areas were in the capital improvements area, okay? We are going to spend $524,000 in capital improvements, about 2.5% of that $20 million. Very small amount. 2.5% on $20 million. We cut $719,000 out of that capital improvements program for the upcoming fiscal year. Capital equipment, we're only going to purchase $388,000. Again, you're going to buy 2 police cars. You're going to replace a 1975 tractor for the water department, and we're going to buy a van that's going to work on the sewers here in the city, and that is all. So 2% of the $20 million is going for, or $388,000 is going for equipment. The other issue where the council said we're not going to put any resources in is the GASB 45 legacy cost. $736,000. We will not be putting away to fund the retiree legacy cost for healthcare. Okay, we're only going to put away $133,000. We're about 6% funded. We'll work at it as we spoke about back in May 15th. We'll chip away, but at the end of the day, we're going to forego delivering $736,000 to that fund. We also eliminated $432,000 worth of equipment, future equipment purchases. We either postponed or took out of the plan entirely. Capital improvements, we took $3.73 million. We dropped the plan from $12 million. We brought it down to $9 million. So $3 million in capital improvements, gone, or pushed back because we don't have the revenues to do those types of things. Let's talk a little bit about the employees for a moment. We touched basically on the health care, both for the retirees and the actives. Again, we have higher deductible plans, and Blue Cross came back with a 12.6% increase. For wages, we're in the third year of a 0% contract for the employees. So this is the third year. Over the last 5 years, the employees have only received 2% cost of living increases. So when you look at that, the employees, along with the health care, high deductibles, 0 raises, the employees have helped us out quite tremendously on the budget. Every department in the city since '02 has lost a staffer or multiple staffers. DPW has lost 1, public safety has lost 3, the library has greatly been reduced in staffing, to name a few. So since '02, staffing has been reduced. And that's how, so in total, the reductions amount to about $1.8 million that the council had to forego in capital equipment, capital improvements, healthcare liability, and an employee salary. Now, I will say this, if there is a employee who is in contract and is going from step 1 to step 2, the max is step 5. If they're moving in step, they will get that step in accordance with their contract. But that will be the only increase that somebody will see. Last year, you saw staff-wise 68 people. This year, we're at 70. We filled the position in the Public Safety Department, an active position. A young lady at June 30th of 2011 left the department. It was open when we budgeted last year. We did fill that position with one of our contractors. The contractors went from 3 to 2. Same thing in the DPW. We had 9 to start the year out this past year, and we filled that position. We got a top-notch young man came in and is filling that position. So you're going to see 70 full-time employees for the year to run, to provide the core city services. I'll be happy. Let's talk a little bit about water sewer. Oh, Mr. Mayor, would you wait for that item?
Next item.
We'll wait for that one. Okay, very good. I'll be happy to entertain any questions that the council may have.
Any questions? I know the council has been through this line by line, comma by comma. And Council, the Mayor Pro Tem has a question.
If nobody else has any comments, I'll comment on this budget. I know we're going to go through a few more items, as you mentioned, but Mr. Sabuda, you mentioned a couple things, and I kind of want to highlight that, or whatever the opposite of highlight is right now. Since I've been, doing budgets since 2007, we have managed to, first couple of years, we didn't seem to have any problems. Money was still coming in, revenues were good. We weren't even having to talk about cutting things. We were looking at things, but cuts were not necessarily a necessity. Over the last few years, cuts have certainly become a necessity, and as we've well documented many times, there's nothing else that we can cut that the residents won't see. We've done a great job over the past few years, and our unions have done a great job in bargaining to allow the city to continue to operate with all the services that we are currently providing. This budget is the first one that I am not proud of at all. The other ones we were doing well and we were in good shape, especially in comparison to our neighbors. That's not the case with this one. And the reason, again, not because of the immediate cuts that residents are going to see. No, we managed to keep our staffing levels actually increased a little bit. But whenever, to me, numbers and I don't get along so well, so I try to look at it as simply as I can. We have less money coming in. We've had less money coming in. Expenses continue to rise. We know that they're rising. We just heard 12% increase again from Blue Cross on top of every other cost. Services don't get cheaper. We have, whenever there's a disparity there, something has to give. And unfortunately, in this budget, what had to give was planning for the future. And that is something that I'm certainly not proud of. I don't think any of my other council members are particularly pleased about. But to keep our services that we have right now with the numbers that we get, that we get from the county, that we get from Mr. Sabuda, not numbers that are made up. We're talking about the actual numbers coming from the county, the projections, what comes in, what we can expect in the next couple of years. I mean, we cut, as he mentioned, $3 million, really, in the capital improvements project, capital improvements plan, sorry, and $219,000 of that this year, correct?
Correct.
For this budget. On top of that, we had to decrease our Gatsby contribution, which he also mentioned, legacy costs, which we have been trying to fund. In the first year that I was on council, we fully funded that. It was about $1 million. We were able to put $1 million aside in that budget, which was, at the time, fantastic. Very few cities were able to fully fund it that first year. But ever since then, that is something that we have seen decrease. This year, $133,000, about 6%. That's something that, yeah, we're going to continue to hope things turn around and hope we can put some more money towards it. There's not really any money in here devoted to improving roads, local roads. We don't have the money to do the projects that we would like to do for our residents. Now, that doesn't, again, it doesn't mean that we just drop them. A lot of them are just going to be pushed back until at some point maybe we do get the funds. But this is the first time that residents are going to really feel the impact of what's going on in the city, what's going on in the state and the country. You might not see it tomorrow, but within the next year or so, you will see it when your roads are not always getting, repaired as quickly as we'd like, or, repaired other than patching. When our GASB numbers continue to decrease, and maybe we get our bond rating might decrease from that, which is something we certainly don't want. We're very proud of our bond rating right now, but a part of that is because we've been able to fund GASB. Those are the things that we are going to see. And now they're a reality. It's not, oh, we're going to try to keep this off, put this off. We're fighting. We're keeping our heads above water. We can't possibly cut anymore. And we have to negotiate new contracts with our unions who, as I mentioned before, 0 increase in raises for 3 years, healthcare concessions. We can't keep putting it on the backs of our workers. I mean, that's not fair. They've already given a lot. It's just, this will be a budget that we see an impact, that our residents will see an impact. And that is something that we've been fighting to try not to do, and we fought as long as we possibly can. Now, the other thing, what we have left in our rainy day fund, it might sound like a big number, but it's less than our auditors want us to have now for the first time since I've been on council. It's less. We're supposed to have 3 months in reserve. We're down to 2.5. That could impact our audit. We'll have to wait and see. 2.5 to 3 might not be significant to, you might not think it's a lot, but it has a significant impact on our budget and what our auditors will say. We are going to see it's finally come home and hit Berkley. And I just want all the residents to be aware that even though your leaves are still going to be picked up tomorrow and the garbage is going to continue to be picked up and you keep putting the branches out, but in the future, it's catching up to us and it's coming very quickly and it's coming next year. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, a couple more points I'd like to make. With the tax rate and the values, property values declined 2.33% this year, okay, and that's a compound over the last 4 years. I'm sorry, the 2.33% is the difference between last year to this year. Now, it has, and that builds or compounds over values over prior years. $454 million. Therefore, tax rates for the debts and the debts only, so the road funds and the Public Act 345 pension system, those tax rates are going to increase slightly in order to pay our bond bills, okay, for the upcoming year. So we're going to go from basically $14.09 per thousand taxable value to $14.49 per thousand taxable value to pay for the road bond debt and to pay for the Public Act 345 pension system. All other tax rates will stay the same, which would be the general fund operating, public safety operation, and the sanitation operation. And the community promotion is going to go up a penny. But that's basic. We're under the Hadley limitation there. So, again, property values are declining 2.33%, and that is this is the fifth year decline, and we're looking at going from 1409 to 1449 in order to cover those bond debts. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional discussion on this budget? Councilmember Baker.
Sure. Thank you, Your Honor. So I also share my colleagues' feelings about this budget. This has been a difficult journey for us. It's been, and I don't mean just by the fact that we've gone line by line through that big, thick binder. My colleague has a copy of the binder there. And we went through every line of that thing. And it is with the utmost confidence that we talk about this important issue tonight. It's, and I know we have a series of items here for us to talk about on the budget, so I'll try to keep focused just on this particular piece here. But as has been said before, we can't cut our way to prosperity. And we certainly have done a lot of cutting lately, and we haven't seen a whole lot of prosperity, so I think that one's holding true, at least. But at the same time, a budget is a reflection of our shared values, right? The budget reflects how we see ourselves and where we seek to go in the future. And it's with a sad heart that it's absolutely true that this budget doesn't give us much in terms of preparing now for the future. So it's with, with our eyes wide open that we're aware of that. We're doing what we need to do to take care of things right here now, this week, this month, this year, as we move forward with this budget. But we've been deferring a lot of needed and overdue investments for quite some time, and to see that trend continue another year is very difficult. It's very difficult. There's a few interesting little projects in there that we're going to try to find a way to make happen, but any of the big things, especially positioning for the future, everything from the sewer relining initiative. We talked earlier in our meeting tonight about insurance for the sewers at the homeowners level. When you talk about at the city investments, in the not too distant future, not too distant past, in the not too distant past, we would do $500,000 a year in sewer relining, which is a tremendous investment, ensuring that the infrastructure is there when we need it. And that keeps getting diminished and diminished and diminished. And as we cut our way on that, it certainly isn't going to help us get to prosperity in that regard. So I'll just say this now, and then, of course, this sentiment will continue through the rest of these things here as we look to the impacts to our residents, to our employees, to the businesses, to our downtown area, which also sees the impact of decreased funds. This budget here is also is both one of the most difficult votes that I've had the responsibility to make, and also it's one of the most clear and present needs that we have as a city to do what we need to do to make it through this year and talk about the rest. So, yep. So that's that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Kadekl.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I echo my colleague's sentiments, but I also want to thank Mr. Sabuda and his staff and all the directors and administration, Ms. Vice DeSessa, for all the hard work they've done in putting this budget together, because as my colleagues have mentioned, it hasn't been easy, and a lot of hard work, a lot of late nights went into this, and I just want you to know you have my appreciation. Thank you.
Ms. DeSessa.
Your Honor, I guess just to show one of the comments that Councilman Baker made to our residents out there to prove, as he indicated earlier, in the past, we had set aside over $500,000 to do our sewer relining. Today, it's just barely $100,000. So you can see how much less we are putting aside, as he indicated, to invest in our city and to protect our future. So those dollars are dwindling, and yet we do our best to try to do as much as we can. So again, just wanted to give that number out. And the only other thing I'd like to say is that to our residents, if they'd like to see a copy of our budget, it will be on our website, which is www.berkleymich.org. You'll also be able to see a copy of the presentation that the City Council received at the budget hearings as well. I believe that's already online as I speak. So any questions, please don't hesitate to let us know. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Councilmember Stedman.
Since Ms. DeSessa came here in 2002, we have actually been making cuts since that year. And it started with, at that time, we didn't have a $2.5 million fund balance. We had a $55,000 fund balance, which was, of course, way, way under what we needed. We could not have survived an emergency. And so she has been, and the department heads and the finance people have been making these cuts for 10 years, gradually, and every year, so that it would not affect your immediate core services, such as getting your leaves picked up, getting your streets plowed, and so on and so forth. How many employees did we have in 2002? Does anyone recall?
2. We'll have to get back with you on that.
That's good.
I'm thinking it was in the 90s, maybe close to 100 employees. So we have cut a lot of staff during that time. A lot of things that we used to do, we don't do anymore, but they're not involving core services.
Thank you, Your Honor. Yes.
Thank you. And Mayor Pro Tem
Thank you, Your Honor. Just a quick comment. Being new on the council, I met with all the department heads, and one of the things that I noticed when I met with them is the department heads had their budget out there. and they had marks all over it. So this is not the city council imposing anything. This is the department heads knowing what's going on, having a great awareness of what the city needs and where the money is, and coming in with a reasonable and a good budget. And I'd like to commend the department heads and city manager and everybody for doing a fine job in being prepared, staying ahead of the power curve, and knowing where we're going and knowing what we have to do. So thank you all.
Thank you. Very good. Well, I believe that when our residents hear that we have balanced the budget, they will be pleased. And then when they understand that we have balanced the budget by cutting capital improvements by $719,000, in other words, improvements to parks and buildings and infrastructure and everything we have in town, and we have balanced this budget by cutting capital equipment by about $150,000 in things that need to be replaced because they have worn out. And we didn't pay $736,000 of the Gaspy 45 legacy bill that's hanging out there. It doesn't take too long to understand that the rubber essentially has hit the road. And we are in a difficult situation. I share the sentiments then of all my colleagues. This is a budget that does not express the hopefulness and vision that I hear from our community and from our residents. And I'm so happy in the last couple of weeks to have met a number of new residents to our community who express the joy they have in the neighborhoods that they have chosen to live in, the friendships they have made, and the services of the community. And I also know the budget situation, in that joyful disposition is not likely to continue as services keep being cut unless we're able to resolve it. And I'm hopeful, I'm confident that the residents of our community want to build a better Berkeley and will do so in the future. If there are no additional comments, then we will have the roll on this 2012-2013 budget.
Blanchard.
Yes.
Hideko.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Sedner.
Yes.
Turbrack.
Yes.
Baker.
Yes.
O'Dwyer.
Yes. And now, Ms. Prince, would you please read item number 8 on tonight's agenda?
Resolution number R2212, matter of approving a resolution of the Council of the City of Berkeley, Michigan, setting charges for the water and sewer services effective July 1st, 2012.
Is it a motion to approve R2221?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Council Mayor Pro Tem Turbrack.
Support.
Support by Council Member Baker. Mr. Sessa.
Council, as our city clerk stated, the purpose of this resolution is to set the water and sewer rate charges for this coming fiscal year. What I'd like to do now is simply ask our finance director to, I don't want him to go over every single rate because we'll be here all night, but just simply to indicate some of the items that are impacting these rates. Mr. Sabuda?
Thank you, Mrs. DeSessa. Again, good evening, Mayor and council members. As I stated earlier, this is our second largest fund, and it affects everybody in town. We'd like to do an annual study. We do an annual study, I should say, and we also do an annual comparison. We like to do that comparison with all our other municipalities around us. Basically, let's take the wholesale rates first, and then we'll go into the retail rates. I can tell you that the SACWA and the City of Detroit on the wholesale side is asking to raise our rates 7.8%. On the sewer side, the City of Detroit is asking for a 4.1% rate increase. And the Drain Commissioner, along with the City of Detroit, is asking for a 3%. The Drain Commissioner is not raising his rates, but I take that back. The Drain Commissioner is raising his rates for stormwater, but for his operating, he is not raising his rates. But stormwater is going up 3%. So again, water from Detroit, 7.8, sewer from Detroit, 4.1, stormwater from the Drain Commissioner, 3.0% increases. So we have to pass these costs on to the citizenry, as well as pay for the maintenance of the system today. The costs Our costs run about $1.38 million. So, the best way to put this to you is this, is what does your bill look like if you use 4,000 cubic feet of water per quarter? We're anticipating that an average homeowner who would use 4,000 cubic feet of water per quarter would have a 5.7% increase to their bill. That would be $13.14 per quarter, or $52 per year. So depending on their water usage and how much they would use on a quarterly basis. So again, what we're looking at is 5.7% increase, $13.14 per quarter, or approximately $52 per year on the water charge. We break the water rates down by consumption, ready to serve, storm, and billing charges. We also have pass-throughs that the residents do not receive, but non-residents do receive. We do not put any retail costs onto those pass-through charges. If you discharge certain pollutants, those costs went up tremendously high. I don't believe we have a customer in Berkeley that gets a pollutant charge. But the non-residential users will see a 7.7% increase to their rate, in addition to the 5.7 if they're a non-residential user, which would be a commercial building or an industrial building in this town. I'd be happy to entertain any questions that the council may have.
Any questions for Mr. Sabuda? There are no questions. Then, Ms. Prince, would you please call the roll on R2212?
Hideko?
Yes.
White Johnson?
Yes.
Sedman?
Yes.
Turbrack?
Yes.
Baker?
Yes.
Blanchard?
Yes.
O'Dwyer?
Yes. Ms. Prince, would you please read item number 9?
Resolution number R2312, matter of approving a resolution of the Council of the City of Berkeley, Michigan, establishing a residential service fee for the collection and disposal of solid waste.
Is there a motion to approve R2312?
Motion to approve 2312.
Motion to approve by Mayor Pro Tem Turbrack.
Support.
Support by Councilmember Kadekel. Ms. DeSessa.
Council, we are recommending a rate of $30.20 per year, billable at $7.55 per quarter on the water bill. This is the same rate and billing cycle and method of billing as we have done in the last 6 years. So we are recommending that rate remain. One thing also I'd like to add, City Council, is that these last 3 resolutions that you are reviewing, they're in line with our budget. And so therefore, in order for us to implement our budget, we also need to approve these items. Thank you.
Are there any questions on this item? Councilmember Baker.
Thank you, Your Honor. And more of just a clarification again. I think I'm pretty sure we heard what you said, but just to repeat that again, this rate is flat, and it's been flat for the last how many years?
6 years.
6 years. So once again, we've been able to work within the system to maintain the same low flat rate to our residents at often great creativity and
Yes.
internal angst, if you will, from our employees and all the great work that they do. Yes, thank you.
Very good. Seeing no other discussion, then Ms. Prince, would you please call the roll on R2312?
White Johnson?
Yes.
Sedman?
Yes.
Turbrack?
Yes.
Baker?
Yes.
Blanchard?
Yes.
Hideko?
Yes.
O'Dwyer?
Yes. Ms. Prince, would you please read item number 10?
Resolution number R2412, matter of approving a resolution of the Council of the City of Berkeley, Michigan, approving the 2012, 2013 through 2018, 2019 capital improvement plan of the City of Berkeley, Michigan.
Is there a motion to approve R2412?
Move to approve.
Moved to approve by Councilmember Kadekel, support by Councilmember Blanchard. Mr. Sessa.
Council, I know that you've discussed this item in our discussions on the budget with regards to the capital improvements plan. We are submitting this in accordance with the State of Michigan compiled law, section 125.3865. Please know that we have also, through our finance director, have presented this plan before the city's planning commission for consideration and recommendation to the city council. They did review it and are recommending it. But just to go over very, very briefly, I'm looking at the memorandum that was put together by our finance director. the plan that we are recommending to the City Council identifies the following items, and I promise I'll be very brief here. The overall cost of the proposed capital improvement plan is about $9.4 million. This is an overall reduction of about $3.3 million. And as we've discussed in our conversations during this meeting, this is due primarily to funding constraints that the city has experienced over the past fiscal years. This also anticipates further revenue reductions in fiscal year 13-14 and 14-15. The city, however, was able to manage to complete just a little over $600,000 in projects since April of 2011. Also, this plan includes a little over $524,000 in projects for fiscal year 12-13. The majority of the projects are being funded by the major and local street funds and the water sewer fund. This is a $281,000 decline in spending when we compare this to the fiscal year for 11-12, which is this current year. Overall, this is a $719,000 reduction in planned spending when we compare this to the 2011-2012 CIP capital improvement plan, to the 2012-2013 CIP plan for fiscal year Mr. Sabuda. I'll just say for the fiscal year 12-13. There you go. Confused here. We'd be happy to answer any questions and address any clarifications they may have made on the various years. Mr. Sabuda.
Thank you, Mrs. DeSessa, Mr. Mayor, and City Council members. The plan that you see tonight is the plan that the Planning Commission approved. However, I have to tell you that the Planning Commission saw the number $499,000, not $524,000. Councilmember Blanchard found a typo in my chart, and there was a $23,000 discrepancy there. And so the projects are the same. It's just that the total, Councilmember Blanchard found the adding issue, and we corrected that. That's why there's a difference between what the Planning Commission saw on the 24th of April and what you see here tonight. However, the projects are the same. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Any additional questions, concerns, discussion? Councilmember Platt-Onson.
Out of all million pages of this budget, these few pages are the scariest thing that I have seen in any one of these binders. And this many spreadsheets normally would scare just about anybody, but this document is hugely frightening for a couple of reasons. One, $524,000 kind of sounds like a lot of money. But what's happening is that we're balancing our budget by maintaining services while letting the world fall down around us. And so our parks are in disrepair. We have roofs that are leaking, and we haven't been able to do anything about it. And so this, to me, doesn't mean that we can skip doing those things.
Right.
What we have to do is let more damage be done in the meantime and push them off to, for instance, 2018, where we have nearly $2.3 million because we need to make up for what we had to push off. The fact of the matter is the roof is leaking at the public safety building. We, at some point, will need to stop the leak. And so turns out that, according to what I'm looking at, I think waits another year. So in the meantime, we get more water in the building, more potential damage. So, you know, water is the absolute enemy to any sort of structure. And while, for the most part, residents haven't seen any major cuts in their services, though, believe me, people have noticed the difference in code enforcement, this, I think, is what is the scariest thing. So we're looking at $524,000 this year, $435,000 next year. And just a year ago, we had a discussion about what poor shape the tot lot is in. and how we were going to work passionately to put more than $50,000 towards it because that just wasn't going to be enough. And I'm sure everybody saw the $19,000 that's in here to basically clean it up just enough so that it's not particularly hazardous and fixes some of the rusty fence problems, et cetera. So I think if anybody walks away with anything from this meeting, and if anybody wants to pick up any one document and take a look at it in regards to the city budget, it should be this one, because this is how we have managed to not cut services. Right. We have police on the street, yet they are sitting in a building with a leaky roof. And this is a problem moving forward. So I just wanted to draw attention to some of these numbers and let people, make sure people understand that we will need to fix these things eventually. We will just be letting them get into slightly more disrepair until we can potentially afford to repair them in the future. That's all.
Thank you. Councilmember Baker.
Thank you, Your Honor. And again, I echo my colleagues' sentiments on that. This is a particularly sobering document here as we look at, again, how we position for the future and inspire shoestrings here. You mentioned the less than half the amount for the tot lot than what we had talked about last year. And at least there's something in there, so we were able to move that forward to some extent. And I think the plan sounds intriguing for what we will be able to do with that. That's one of the few small projects when I hinted at earlier, that little glimmer of hope there to show that we're still focusing on that. Another service that has a big old blank by it is our library. The public library has zero invested in it, and it also has roof issues and things like that, to your point. So it's, again, as we mentioned earlier, a lot of difficult things going on in this budget, and just kind of shows what we're trying to do to help maintain the services that we have, and at the same time, it's about time where we're going to have to really think about how we can position ourselves for the future, and we'll have some more catching up to do for sure. I think we can do it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? I suppose it is often said when people are talking about budgets and numbers that the devil is in the details. And I think Councilmember Platt-Onson put her finger on where the devil is located in our budget. Not doing things that need to be done. I mean, if we did the same thing with our own homes, it wouldn't take too long before greater expenditures would arise. And that is, of course, why you don't see tremendous enthusiasm here about this budget. It just gets us by for now. And that's not good enough, actually, in the long term, because where there is no vision, as the book of Proverbs says, the people perish. Ms. Prince, would you please call the roll?
Stedman?
Yes.
Turbrack?
Yes.
Blanchard?
Yes.
Baker?
Yes.
Hideko?
Yes.
Platt-Onson?
Yes.
And O'Dwyer?
Yes. Now, Ms. Prince, would you please read item number 11 on tonight's agenda?
Resolution number R-2512, matter of approving a resolution calling for a millage proposal to be placed on the August 7th, 2012 primary election day.
Is there a motion to approve R-2512?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Mayor Pro Tem Turbrack.
Support.
Support by Councilmember Hideko. Mr. Sessa.
Councilman, you may recall that at our last council meeting, we held a work session to discuss this item. And we asked our legal counsel, Mr. Patrick F. McGow, he is an attorney for Miller Canfield, to take the proposals that he prepared for us, and he came up with a new resolution, basically. And what this does is it's simply a request for 3 mills for operations. He also adds an expansion on the description of services to be funded. And there's also a change in the levy date, which would commence in July 2013. You may recall that we were looking to do this levy in December originally, but this new resolution, as I stated earlier, will begin in July. I understand, or I believe that these changes confirm to the direction of the City Council. Mr. McGow is here with us this evening. I don't know if you'd like to say anything else, sir, and help me answer any questions that the City Council may have.
Thank you, Mrs. DeSessa. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I think she summarized quite succinctly what the change is to the resolution that's before you, which is mostly in the ballot language to take what was 2 questions into 1, to make it a 3 mil request for consideration for approval by the voters. It would begin in 2013, so it would not start with this current budget that you just approved, but the levy would begin on July 1 of 2013 if approved by the voters. And the other thing that was done was there were some concerns about making clear that the voters understood what all really was paid for when we say municipal operating purposes. And so the last part of that ballot question was expanded to describe some of the activities that the city uses for those funds. As mentioned at the last meeting 2 weeks ago, originally the request was written matching what your charter says, which is the millage is for municipal operating purposes, including police and fire. This has been expanded to include several other services the city provides and pays for out of these funds. So now it describes the purpose of the millage and the increase would be to provide funds for municipal operating purposes, including police and fire, library, parks, public works, and sanitation services. So that was intended to more adequately describe the range of services that the city pays for out of these tax revenues. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have related to the revised language in the proposal.
Are there any questions? I know that members of council have had this for the last 10 days or more to review it and mull over it and so on. Is there general satisfaction with what we see here? I believe there's somebody in the audience who wants to make a comment.
You know, obviously, you guys can make an argument that the 3 mills is needed.
Name.
Kurt, Berkley, 3525 Robina. Now, obviously, you can make the argument that the 3 mills override for the Headley Amendment is needed. Okay, and it's obviously a foregone conclusion that you're probably going to approve it to put it on the ballot for August 7th. My issue tonight is, well, first the fact that, like when you were mentioning the city employees, you know, there's many citizens in the city of Berkeley that when they hear you say that, you know, for the last 5 years they've only seen a 2% increase, they think to themselves they would be fortunate. And I'm talking about many of the citizens. They would be fortunate if they saw a 2% increase in the last 5 years. Many have given up much more than that. And you know, you talk about roofs leaking, vehicles need to be replaced. They can't replace their vehicles, and they have not been able to replace their roofs, and their roofs are leaking at their homes. You know, they've had to put Band-Aids where they've had to. They've cleaned up where they've had to because, you know, the money is not there at the home either. Okay? So you can make the argument that it is needed, and everybody wants to see the city get better and everything. Everybody wants to see the economy get better. My problem is you know, when you're putting it on the ballot, there is no sunset clause. So therefore, even if 4 years from now we see it get better, you're still collecting that money, you know, regardless of whether or not the citizens are still having issues or not, or regardless of whether somehow the public, because of people buying homes, moving into the city, have raised prices up, which is a good thing for everybody. But there's still nothing to protect the residents that are still here, that are still struggling to make ends meet, to say that if things do return to previous levels, that, you know what, this will back off, or we'll have to re-vote on it the next time. You know, so even people that want to say, you know, in the temporary, we can see justification for the city needing this. You know, what happens in 5 years if all of a sudden now you're back to peaking or back to an upward trend? So, you know, we would like, you know, there's a lot of people that would like to see something like that, to see that you're taking into account, yes, the necessities right now that you can see that Berkeley has, but also the fact that things aren't going to stay this way or should not stay this way. And so therefore you're addressing and saying that you're willing to go back and look at it instead of saying, you know what, we're going to raise this 3 mills and it's going to be forever. Because to me, I think that's a little bit disingenuous. I think that's not protecting the interests of the citizens as well as looking out for the interests of the city.
Thank you. Any additional, Councilmember Platt-Onson?
I'm just wondering if Mr. Sabuda could explain. I'm going to act this out a little bit for you, but essentially, as the values rise, could you explain that sort of leveling out process and how it's rollback? Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
The rollback.
Headley.
Could you explain that for us, please?
Yes, I can. Thank you, Councilwoman Platt-Onson. What happens here when consumer prices rise and the values rise, the values of our homes rise, or taxable value rises, we have to, in accordance with the Headley Amendment and with Proposal A, 1994 Proposal A, roll the rate back. I cannot raise taxes higher than CPI or Consumer Price Index or 5%. And the Consumer Price Index is determined by the state of Michigan. It's not determined by the city of Berkeley or David Sabuda. It's determined by the state of Michigan. CPI or 5%, whichever is less. So as taxable values increase, the rate, this 3 mills, will roll back.
Yes.
So it'll go from 3, and eventually, theoretically, could go to 0. Okay? That would be very, very, very extreme. I wouldn't see that happening, but at the end of the day, the rate will roll back. So as values increase, the rates will roll back, and we will only get to see CPI or 5%, whichever is less, in accordance with the Headley Amendment and with Proposal A.
Mr. Sessa.
May I address this question as well, Your Honor? The other thing that our residents should know as well is that every year the City Council, when they take a look at the budget, obviously we need to be able to justify those expenses. If they see, for example, that whatever it is that we're recommending to the City Council, maybe they may consider frivolous or may consider unwarranted, that budget can be reduced. The citizens of Berkeley should know that we have not increased these operating millage for more than 53 years. It has been 53 years since we have raised the operating millage for the city of Berkeley. We do not ask our residents to go up to as high as what our state allows us, which is 20 mills. In accordance with our city charter, it already limits us to 13 mills. And again, that's broken up, 10 for operating and 3 for public safety. So not all of it goes to operations. And as the finance director already indicated, because of Headley and Proposal A, it rolls back. So we will see some reductions every year when it comes to the millage that we ask for the residents, from the residents.
And I understand that, and sorry for interrupting, but okay, you're saying that you haven't raised mills, but you have adjusted other things due to cost, whether it's fees or whatever. So there's other things offset. No, but that being said, other communities have asked for overrides for the Headley Amendment and have put in this clause. So even if it could theoretically go down to 0 where there's no millage increase, you really don't have anything to lose if you put it up for vote in another 4 years and you still do need the money. Because the citizens, if they see the need, will still vote yes on it, right? And so therefore, even then, it might even actually benefit you, because rather than saying, well, you already got 3 mills that never expires, now you can say you're re-upping the 3 mills. So you actually would benefit yourself in having to come back to the table and ask for it again.
Okay, very good. Thank you for the suggestion. Mr. Sessa wanted to say something. Did you?
No, Your Honor. I guess you can look at it many different ways. Again, I will not argue.
No, the situation is this. The reason that many communities have sunset requirements is because their city charter requires it. And that is why you have some communities coming up every 5 years with millage issues.
Thank you.
Because they are in compliance with, and I'm sure the attorney will be able to verify that. It's so many communities are basically following their own charters.
Yes.
And we have no such limitation in the city, which is why it's 53 years since the last time a millage was passed.
Thank you.
Ms. Brewer. Ms. Brewer, if you come to the microphone, please. And your name is?
My name is Josephine Brewer, and I live in Berkeley. And I was on the committee the advisory committee, and we did not put the sunset on there, and we discussed it a lot. And we decided not to put it on there because we simply did not need it on there. And as Mr. Sabuda says, it rolls itself back, and then why should we go through, you know, in saying 5 years that we didn't need it, why should we go through all that? You know, we did not need that sunset, and so, but I mean, it's not that we didn't, you know, study it and decide in deliberations. We took our responsibilities very seriously, and we hope the council does, you know, I know they appreciated it. Thank you.
Thank you, Josephine. And Mr. Kadekel.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. With the comparison about replacing vehicles, where we're replacing 2 public safety vehicles, these vehicles run a lot more than the average household vehicle. This is a safety issue. We can't, you know, we can't afford our safety to be put in jeopardy when, you know, these vehicles are running 24/7 to protect us and to serve us and to be there when 911 is called. That's number one. And number two, the equipment that we're replacing, it's almost 30 and 40 years ago that we replaced these pieces of equipment. So I highly doubt that there's too many vehicles that are, or pieces of equipment that are 30 or 40 years old, sitting around the average citizen's home that is in need of replacement. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Kadekel. Can I take us back then to this detailed statement that will be placed before the people on August 7th? Are there any concerns about the language that is before you? Any questions of the attorney? Councilmember Baker.
Thank you again, Your Honor. Not so much a question, but again a comment. And thank you for your work in listening to what we talked about and consulting with staff and bringing back this revised language for us here. A few minutes ago, I mentioned about the budget being the most difficult vote that I've had in a long time, and now here, hot on the heels of that, is this again, the most difficult vote we've had in a very long time. So it's packing them all into one meeting. I appreciate your clarity and focus on this language and ensuring that we comply with the proper procedures and everything like that. And so again, thanks. It's difficult, and I completely understand the challenge that this is before us here, and the absolute necessity to consider this tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Platt-Onson.
I just wanted to say that I'm probably more sensitive to money issues than the average person. I grew up without having any money, and I can definitely speak to the situation of people who haven't gotten raises. My husband essentially makes less now than he did 5 years ago. He's a government employee. Healthcare costs have risen, and he's been forced to take furlough days. While he gets Friday off, it's unfortunately unpaid. These are things that, you know, this type of vote I take very seriously. It impacts my household. It impacts those around me. But the reality is that this dollar amount is the equivalent of maybe 3 tanks of gas. And luckily, I've got a bicycle, so I can make that up on the weekends. But we do need to think about what this not huge investment from a household standpoint. So we're talking about $175 for my family. What that means to the reality of our city. I don't take that lightly, but it can have a real impact on very basic quality of life and maintaining that. So don't think that we sit up here and don't think about those things, because I am one of those households who went years without a raise, and I drive an 8-year-old car and my husband drives an 8-year-old car, and these are things we think about on a daily basis. So We understand, and I know I, for one, understand, and don't take this lightly, but we need to do something to stop the decline. It's sad to go for a walk. I live near the Tot Lot, and it's sad to go for a walk and see that park and see so many young children playing in it, running around puddles or missing or broken pieces of equipment. That's just not the kind of neighborhood that I want to live in, and I don't believe it's the kind of neighborhood that other young families want to live in. And we have the chance to do something about it for not a lot of money. And I think if ever there was a time to do something to invest just a tiny bit in our lives and our neighbors' lives, I think now is the time.
Thank you. Councilmember Blanchard.
Thank you, Mayor Dwyer. When we started this process quite a while ago, I said that I could not support a millage for something that we wanted, but I could support a millage for something that we needed. And through the hard work of the people in the city, Mr. Sabuda and everybody, I think that's been proven. And to make sure it was proven, we brought together 15 citizens, and they listened to it. So I think the need is there. I think we've proven that. And since that time, we've been impacted by the possibility of losing more money from the state on the personal property tax, which would be equivalent to another $500,000, which we hadn't even banked on before. And there are other things going on, like court consolidation, a number of other things that impact us severely. So I just want the residents to know that this is not something we want. This is something we have to have. And it has been studied and studied and studied, and if you want to hear more, come and see us. We'll go through all those books with you, but it is something that the city needs if we're going to survive and keep the way of life the way we've got it now. Thank you.
Thank you. Very good. We are a representative sample of this community. And, yeah.
Excuse me, one thing.
Okay.
A question for the lawyer. We have a question mark after sanitation services and the next to the last line. Should that be a question mark there?
Yeah.
Or period?
Yeah, the reason that's there
It's all one sentence.
I think the punctuation is correct, although the reason it's there is the question is whether or not the voters approved the 3 mil increase. The following sentence isn't really a question, it's a statement. That it's estimated that 3 mills would raise approximately $1,362,000 when first levied in 2013. One of the requirements of state law is that the ballot language has to indicate the estimated amount of revenue that would be received in the first year levied. So that's really in there more as a statement than a question.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Is that clarified for everybody? Very good. Well, as I was saying, the council is a representative sample of this community. And as my colleague pointed out, we pay the same taxes as everybody else. And we have looked at this like the 15 members of the study committee. We're all coming to the same conclusion, that it is in the best interests of our community to charge ourselves, if you will, $175 on average for the sake of the future, and to implement the vision and the hopes and the dreams and the kind of community our people want to have for themselves and for their children. And so while these are difficult votes, they are also necessary votes. And on that thought, Ms. Prince, would you please call the roll?
Herbrick?
Yes.
Baker?
Yes.
Blanchard?
Yes.
Hideko?
Yes.
Platt Onson?
Yes.
Stedman?
Yes.
O'Dwyer?
Yes. Thank you all. And now we come to the communications section of tonight's agenda. And I believe Councilmember Baker is up first.
Well, thank you, Your Honor. So a quote I'd like to. What's that?
You seemed awfully excited.
I am thrilled. I tell you,
Good to go tonight.
His Excellency Michael D. Higgins once said, "I think the important thing now is to have a celebration, and then with determination, move into our common, shared, and different future." And again, His Excellency Michael P. Higgins said, "I think the important thing now is to have a celebration, and then with determination, move into our common, shared, different future." And to the celebration part, I'm sure I will join my colleagues in congratulating and thanking all of the volunteers and work that went into the Berkley Day celebration this past week. It was a tremendous success. Everybody I've spoken with there and before and after it couldn't say enough great things, from the run to the taste to the midway to the art show to the petting farm. Everything was just a tremendous. Well, oh yeah, even the softball game was quite a successful event as well, and a great time was had by all, I'm sure. So thanks to the Berkley Days folks for their hard work, for all the volunteers, for the everything, for all the folks for coming out and enjoying the beautiful weather and all that Berkley had to offer with our celebration. Now to the part of moving with determination to our future, our Downtown Development Authority (DDA) will be having a public hearing Wednesday, May 30th at 6:30 here at City Hall to talk about the 12 Mile and Coolidge intersection. And then the DDA board will have a meeting the next day, Thursday the 31st at 8 a.m. To review and make a decision about the direction for that project and the vendors involved and things like that. So that project will be getting underway soon. Last night, there was an event, a fundraiser event. Normally I like to talk about things in the future, but every so often it's good to comment on events in the recent past as well, as it pertains to fundraisers. There was an event called Gimme Shelter. Gimme Shelter was a fundraiser to benefit two animal rescues, the Almost Home Rescue and the Last Day Dog Rescue. And with that, I'd like to thank the Berkley Front for hosting that event. It was a very successful event, great turnout, tremendous support for two very worthy causes to help animals in need. And looking to the future now, another sort of folks that are in need of help, again, the Big Brothers and Big Sisters group is having a fundraiser here in Berkley at our Hartfield Lanes this Thursday, the 24th, starting at 6 o'clock. Hartfield Lanes, it's called Bowl for Kids' Sake. And if you haven't had a chance to join a team, there's still some slots available on some of the teams. But even if you'd like to show up and bowl, that'd be great. If you'd like to show up and help support this great cause, we'd love to have you there and help support that worthy organization as well. So thank you, and it's with great honor that I turn it back to the mayor. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Councilmember Stedman.
Yes, I'd like to echo the thoughts about Berkley Days. I've lived in Berkley since 1976. I do not remember a nicer weekend for Berkley Days. There was not a cold day. There wasn't a rainy day. It was just absolutely a perfect weekend. I think the library book sale did well. At last I heard it was about $1,600 or $1,700 yesterday. I don't know what the final count was, but it was really a wonderful event. This is early to announce this, but a month from now, on June 18th, is the ice cream social at the public library, and it'll be probably from about 5 to 7. I'm not sure the time, but I'll have that for next meeting. That's all.
Thank you. Councilmember Blanchard.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd just like to comment, we had the public safety golf outing on Saturday, very successful event. Over 90 people participated playing, and there was a number of volunteers that worked hard to make it come off. And the money that's raised on that is used for the Public Safety Lids for Kids program and the Public Safety Fire Open House, where we teach kids awareness of what to do in a fire, and we use the smoke trailer and a number of things like that. So it was well attended, and we made some money. Don't know how much yet because they're still counting up, but it was very well attended, and I appreciate everybody coming out. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Turbrack.
Was the public safety golf outing at Shenandoah or Rackham?
Check the website.
Sorry. Councilmember Blanchard inadvertently drove to Shenandoah. The outing was at Rackham. He got there. He got there. Yeah.
Why did I do that? Because the website said Shenandoah.
All right, the other 98 of us were there. Anyway, I do want to I want to thank Public Safety Officer Drew Hatfield. I know that he is really a driving force behind the public safety outing. It was a great time. The weather was fantastic. There wasn't a cloud in the sky. We didn't particularly play as well as we would have liked, but we had a great time out there nonetheless. So thank you to Drew and the rest of the public safety officers, everybody that participated, the chief, of course, deputy chief, everybody who allowed that to take place. So that was a fantastic event. And I also want to thank everybody who was involved in Berkley Days, especially the Berkley Days chair, Denise Brainerd, and the vice chair, Lisa Zimmerman. There were a number of innovations this year for Berkley Days, from the Miss Berkley Days, for example, the quiz on the history of Berkeley that kids could take for wristbands, and by all accounts, everything went well. Whatever they did, as you mentioned, to get that weather, they need to continue to do that in the future. I look forward to Mike Dooley coming to the meeting in June to discuss a little more what happened in the softball game this year. He has assured me that he will be here to hand the trophy over, and at time we'll go more into the game and some of the coaching and managerial decisions that went into producing that victory. And also the Taste of Berkeley. I want to thank one of our own council members here, Alan Kadekel, along with the Berkeley Huntington Woods Youth Assistants, Betty Smith, and I saw Lyle Smith just as much, for all the work that they did setting up the Taste of Berkeley. It was a fantastic evening. There were far more people there, I think, than anybody anticipated. Great turnout at the door. The vendors were fantastic. We literally had to find seats for people to sit. It was that well attended, and in the future, I think we can plan on a little more, but it was another one of those it's the second year we've done it. It's certainly improved from the first year to the second year, and it's going to be another one of those signature events that we are lucky to have in this city every year. So thank you and everybody else that was involved. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Platt-Honson.
Okay, I'm not going to repeat so I can keep things moving, but I was not able to attend Taste of Berkeley due to touring the Sacra recycling facility with the Environmental Advisory Committee. The food there isn't as good, but I did learn a lot. And this is just a reminder to residents as we're talking about all of these budgetary expenditures, and there was some discussion on solid waste and such things. Remember that when you put recyclables on the curb, as opposed to putting those items in your garbage, the city gets money back for those recyclables. We make money for you to put it in your plastic bin instead of in your garbage bag. So if you want to help even the tiniest bit, don't throw out your plastic containers, paper. They take any sort of metal at the curb, glass bottles. Put all of that in your bin because the city gets revenue for that. So I just wanted to remind everybody of that. And we have a great recycling program that picks up so many things at the curb. So I do appreciate that service. Also, on Wednesday at 6:30, the Environmental Advisory Committee is hosting a community bike and dine event. So ride up to the community center at 6:30, and we'll be riding as a group about 5 miles around the city to also have dinner at Beggar Dave's and I think ice cream at Clark's. So let's hope the good weather continues. Last year we had a little bit of rain. And then the Planning Commission has their next meeting tomorrow night, and they will be reviewing the second draft of the site plan for the architecture firm down on Coolidge, if residents wanted to attend to that. And that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Kadekel.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't know if it's coincidence or what. I joined the council and we're 1-0 in softball. So
total coincidence.
I got pulled out of the game for 3 innings.
I came back and saved it too.
You did.
It was a great time. It really was. Berkeley Days as a whole, I'm trying to not repeat what some of my colleagues said. One of the best Berkeley Days I've seen. Congratulations to Mark Kuhn, Citizen of the Year, Diane from Dynasty Flowers, who was up till 4:30 in the morning getting corsages ready for prom, and happened to make it to the Taste of Berkeley to receive the award she didn't know she was getting. She was just asked to be there as Humanitarian of the Year. Miss Berkeley Days, Olivia Satra, or however you pronounce her name, has done a great job just presenting us everywhere, or representing us everywhere. The Pooch pageant was great to see the dogs have to kiss the judges, and all the dogs had a great time, and it was just a great time there. And as far as the Taste of Berkeley, I want to thank anybody and everybody that participated in the Taste of Berkeley. Minimum 50% more participation. Vendors were awesome. We grossed over $4,000, which we hopefully will end up in the high 30s, 38, maybe $3,700, and that is all for the kids. That is sending kids to camp that wouldn't be able to go to camp. Last year we sent 67, and I think this year we'll be able to send a lot more of those that are in need. So it was a great time, and I also want to thank the Parks and Recreation Department. Mr. Caldwell and his staff helped us out. But it wasn't me, it was a committee, it was a team. And Mr. Sabuda, pretty good pitching there. Now, if you could hit like your daughter, we'd be in good shape. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Sessa.
Thank you, Your Honor. I guess I just know how to compete with all the comments this evening. That's amazing. I too echo my congratulations to Berkeley Days, the chairman, Denise Brainerd. Denise, I'm sure she's probably asleep, resting up for next year. Amazing, and congratulations. Very successful time. You know, Council, in listening to you all, I'd like to personally thank you, all of you, each of you, for your support in the numerous services and programs that the city provides. I know that this takes away, time from your families, but you all somehow find it in your schedules, even if you go to the wrong place. Thank you. You somehow manage to come back and support our community, and our city is so fortunate to have our city council. So thank you very much, each and every one of you. Thank you so much. And I wouldn't be doing my job if I did not also thank the staff for helping myself and our finance department in putting together our budget for the city council. There's a lot of work that goes into it. The budget directors spend a lot of time with not just myself, but also with our finance director to go over it piece by piece. So thank you to all of our city department heads for going through the budgets. Thank you for your willingness to work with us. I know that it was a tough budget, so thank each and every one of you for your time. And of course, I'd like to add a special appreciation, note of appreciation to our finance director, Mr. David Sabuda, for also all his hard work and time. And so thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Sabuda.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. I do have two rather large thank yous. First of all, thank you on the budget. Mayor and council, all the way down to the department heads, Mrs. DeSessa. We couldn't have done it without you. Jane laid it out perfectly. I also want to make a very special thank you to Rebecca Bakke and Susan Redden. Without those two, we couldn't produce what we produce. They do a great job, and they keep me going every day when we put that budget together. The second thank you goes out to Berkeley Days and to Denise Brainerd and the mayor and council for having this wonderful event. I got to experience a great feeling, being able to bat and play ball with my daughter. It was just absolutely phenomenal, and thank you very much.
We needed her.
Pardon me?
We needed her.
Is she giving you hitting lessons here?
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, Mr. Sabuda. Mr. Attorney.
My daughter's too young for that. So nothing this evening, Your Honor.
Thank you very much. contrary to all reports, the man who lives his life in numbers has a heart. Mr. Sabuda, it's nice to see the warm feelings and sentiments that you express playing ball with your daughter. It was nice. I'd too like to thank the council, the staff of the city, and the advisory committee for the work that they have done on the budget and on our financial picture in general, and for your vote this evening with regard to the millage. I am confident that when the residents of our city hear about the public safety department having leaks in the roofs and all kinds of equipment that hasn't been purchased for years and put off and put off and put off, and the quality of our parks deteriorating, I believe that they will look at a $175 investment and say, the Berkley we want in the future will have all these improvements and will have the quality of life that caused us in the first place to come to live in this community. Thanksgiving is the day when we pause to give thanks for all the things we have. Memorial Day is the day we pause to give thanks for the people who fought for the things we have. And so on this Memorial weekend coming up, the American Legion will have multiple ceremonies, and I encourage our residents to join them in paying respect to our troops who've gone before us and those who serve around the world. And then to Berkley Days, it was a wonderful experience for our community. So many people came together, enjoyed the sunshine, enjoyed the neighborliness, the friendship, the camaraderie, and we're thankful for the work of the committee and Denise Brainerd that headed it up this year. And we're thankful, of course, as well for the weather. And then the Taste of Berkley. I also couldn't attend because it is a school night for me, but Council Member Kadekel did heroic work on that project for a long time, and together with his committee made it just a remarkable success. And that concludes what I have to say this evening. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn by Councilmember Stedman.
Support.
Support by Councilmember Kadekel. Ms. Prince, would you please call the roll?
Baker?
Yes.
Blanchard?
Yes.
Kadekel?
Yes.
Platt-Onson?
Yes.
Stedman?
Yes.
Sherbrooke?
Yes.
O'Dwyer?
Thank you. The May 21st meeting of the 34th Council is adjourned.